Assure Model Lesson Plan, David E. Harmon Instructor, Single Line Contour Drawing, Cross Contour Drawing, and Blind Contour Drawing. Who is Professor Harmon?
Hello, my name is David Edward Harmon. I'm making application for your position, advertise remote online. And I've been an educator in higher education mainly since 1982 when I graduated from Penn State University with my Master of Fine Arts degree in painting. I'm an active studio artist and enjoy sharing in the classroom what I've discovered as an artist and historical aspects of other artists. So I'm actively involved in the process of making and learning, and then sharing that in the classroom and encouraging class discussion. I have worked at many colleges and universities, including my current position at Northern Marianas College in Saipan, which is located in the Pacific, and also have taught the UK too some years ago. I've taught at liberal arts colleges and also community colleges and art schools like Savannah College of Art and Design. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and discovered art at a very young age through many visits to the City Art Museum. So I have an avid background in art. My wife is also an artist. So we've been able to go through this art journey for many, many years together and have encouraged others to follow this path as well, because it's a path of freedom, enjoyment, and human expression. Thank you.
Contour drawing has been in existence since humans have begun making art. We can even isolate this art form in prehistoric cave dwellings and various rock art engravings found worldwide. Contour drawing implies that the artist uses line to demarcate both the inside and outside of the subject matter, which may range from animal, human, objects, landscape, or even abstract forms. One may begin with a single line contour drawing, leading cross contour, and utilizing the blind technique to foster observational ability. Line weight varies using various hand pressure from light to medium to dark to emphasize surface topography, what I refer to as mountains, usually drawn light, and valleys, usually drawn dark, where light is absent. In fact, topographical maps reveal this idea very directly as you are either ascending a mountain or descending it. The following slide images reveal this. As you can see, a rock engraving, a mountain drawing, and a topography map. The single contour line drawing process. One begins with a graphite pencil with a lead number of 2B. One looks at the object as they are drawing very carefully, observing the contours that exist outside of the objects referred to as edges. A beginning mark is made, which allows the artist to track both eye and hand these contours as they appear. This line is continuously drawn to stay in touch with what is seen. This ensures that the artist is observing and recording faithfully as to what is seen. Pressure is adjusted to convey the more lit areas or tops light and the bottoms darks. This provides a more convincing three-dimensional surface as seen in the following single line drawings. The blind contour line drawing process. One begins with a graphite pencil with a lead number of 2B. One only looks at the object they are drawing very carefully, observing the contours that exist outside of the objects, referred to as edges. The artist only looks at the object but never at the paper. A beginning mark is made, which allows the artist to track both eye and hand these contours as they appear. Pressure is adjusted to convey the more lit areas or tops, which is light, and the bottoms darks. This process encourages the discipline to observe rather than to be concerned with accuracy. It also loosens up the artist's approach to the use of the right side of the brain versus the cognitive side. One uses their intuition in this approach. It's surprising how engaged the eye and hand can be seen, revealing clumsy yet insightful line work. All artists work from memory images as seen below in this drawing of distorted faces yet connected faces and surprisingly human faces. Please go to the page below to view examples of line contour drawings. The cross-contour line drawing process. One begins with a graphite pencil with a lead number of 6B. One looks at the object they are drawing very carefully, observing the contours that exist both outside and inside of the objects, referred to as concavities, hollowed-out areas, and convexities, bulging-out areas of the objects. A beginning mark is made, which allows the artist to track both eye and hand these contours as they appear. Pressure is adjusted to convey the more lit areas or tops light and the bottoms darks. This provides a more convincing and linear three-dimensional image as seen in the chambered nautilus drawing below, which contains a network of line revealing the three-dimensional form that exists within the chambered nautilus. The following is a YouTube video on the contour line drawing process, and the contour line cover illustration as seen below was drawn by me some years ago. The author Samuel Beckett is depicted as a crumbling statue, and this particular drawing reveals contour, cross contour, and to a degree blind contour technique.
Now that you've finished the contour drawing of your hand, it's time to do something that I think is just a little more difficult, and that is to do a contour drawing of a shoe. And I want you to challenge yourself a little bit, so I'm going to require that you pick a shoe that has shoelaces. I also want you to set the shoe down in front of you so that you draw it from a natural viewing angle. Don't prop the shoe up so you're looking at it directly from the side or from the front or back or even the top. Instead, the vantage point from which you're viewing the shoe should be similar to the one that we see here. And even though I'm going to be using a photograph for the purposes of this video, I want you to draw from real life.
The reason it's better to work from a real live object than from a drawing is because you get to pick it up and examine it. You get to see how it's put together. For example, when we take a close look at the shoe, we can take a look and see that there's a tongue, there's the laces, we can see these two flaps. We get to examine the shoelaces to see how they go in holes and come out, how they go on the underside of this flap and then come back up and go over the top of this flap. We get to examine the inside of the shoe all the way around it. So again, it's much better to work from a real life object than it is a photograph.
To begin drawing your shoe, utilize the strategies that you learned in earlier lessons. Again, you'll notice how I'm drawing lightly, using some simple shapes, getting proper placement and proportion. I'm moving from the general to the specific, getting the shoe placed on the paper, and then you'll see how I slowly start to add more and more of the detail. And of course, I'm constantly comparing my drawing to what I'm drawing. And once you're done with the sketch portion of your drawing, you're ready to add the contour line. Here's where you apply a nice, slow, clean, crisp edge and line to your drawing. For example, let's take a close look at the shoelaces again. Notice how each shoelace is coming out of a ringlet. So you're basically drawing a circle here with another little mini circle. You're going to want to follow the path of the shoelaces. For example, this shoelace goes inside this ringlet but is disappearing behind this flap. It's coming out again in this ringlet, and notice how this shoelace is going over this particular flap here. So it's going over and then it gets hidden and it reemerges somewhere. So it's reemerging on the opposite side of this flap, coming out over that flap, and then coming over that flap and coming underneath this shoelace and this flap. So again, you're going to need to follow the path of the shoelaces and get very specific when you're drawing this particular type of detail. When you are finished with the contour drawing of your shoe, it should have about as much detail as the shoe that you see here.
Okay. Nobody can duplicate it. I mean, if they could, they'd be a genius. So the variables are pretty amazing with mixing here. As you apply things, this is the world's worst brush. But
Cheap brushes, sorry guys, $1 brushes from the dollar store.
And you guys can come in a little bit closer if you want to here. You can draw with your paint, kind of almost snake-like this. Once again, your brush does a lot of your work for you, but it's also the direction about what you want to do. So let's say, for instance, in a freestyle, I'll just do these
Yes, if you can do some of those
simple ones
techniques.
here. And stippling drives me nuts. I'm more of a gestural.
So these are textures and just experimental techniques you might want to experiment
You can use
with your
this
projects.
thing, but it's kind of tedious. Okay, once again, it depends on your brush. You got a crappy brush, you're going to get... I hope you enjoyed this presentation.